I'm using the word snog throat quite a lot, which is making me smile.
Hello, I am Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Every episode, I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories they created there, and the people that they used to know. Now, in ye olden days, London used to be full of small neighbourhood queer bars that had, more of a community feel than the bigger anonymous drinking establishments in the West End. And if it was a lesbian bar you were after, then your best bet would be to head to Stoke Newington in the northeast, which has been described by today's guest as a lesbian mecca. So, by now you're probably wondering, who is today's guest? Well, it is none other than lesbian romance novelist Clare Lydon, whose London romance series has been described as the L Word, but set in London. So, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to both lesbians and London. We caught up to talk about her time living in Stoke Newington, her beloved Lost Space blush bar, and why pool is the sport of choice for so many lesbians. Can we just quickly sidebar and talk about pool for a second? Why is it the official sport of lesbians?
Do you know, I don't know. But, I will say that the Catholic Church unwittingly trained me to be good at it. So I don't know if it was their aim, but my mum and dad...
Did you have a youth club or something?
I did, yeah. And I was very good at it. And then my mum and dad would go in after sort of... there was a club and they would go into this club and then you weren't allowed in there till you were a certain age. So I was left in this front bit with a pool table and a packet of crisps and a Coke. So, and by the time I sort of was 14, I was winning, I was beating all my dad and his mates. And then, I have won a pool tournament in my time. So I'm absolutely dreadful at it now. But back in the day, I was, it's all about practice.
Wait, how can you go from being like a trophy winner to being dreadful? Surely it's like riding a bike.
No, you really can. I was shocked, believe me. I think, I can't remember actually the last time I played pool. And I used to play it every single week. But I just, I think if you don't use it, you lose it. That's what I learned.
For me, pool is a bit like bowling, and sometimes I'm amazing and sometimes I'm terrible, and I just can't. There's just no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, I can see the analogy there actually.
So if you go on a date, right, and you go to a bar with someone, and then you're like, "Hey, why don't we play pool?" What's your tactic? Do you let them win, or do you get competitive?
Oh no. Now I'm quite competitive when it comes to pool, so and I have been known to sulk if I lose. So I wouldn't let them win.
How long does the sulking last?
Until they buy me a drink, obviously. Now I did once go to a bar. There's a gay bar in Bethnal Green called Charlie's Bar. Well, there was, probably not there anymore. And they used to do free pool on a Monday. So I remember taking my mate there to play pool. And we did 8 games in a row with the only people in the bar, and I beat her at 8-0, and I didn't take pity on her. Bad me, very bad.
Needless to say, she's no longer your friend. Yes.
Yeah, no, she hates me.
Well, and can you explain to me? See, I never understood this thing where you go and put the money on the table. That's just to be like, I want to play next.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, that's just
okay.
an intention that you would like to have the next game. But sometimes it's winner stays on, and that's a bit annoying because, I don't really like playing people I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That is annoying. I hate when I'm playing with someone and then someone else comes and says, "Oh, we want to use it next," and then they stand there watching you.
Yeah. That is annoying. And then they get in the way of a particular shot that you're trying to do.
Oh gosh, yes. Like, why is it that some pubs put their pool table in a place where others are like sitting around drinking, and you have to be like, oh, sorry, excuse me, just gonna poke this here. Anyway, so Blush Bar.
Blush Bar.
Why did you want to talk about Blush?
Oh, because I think it was a very amazing space, and it was, around quite a, I don't know if it's a formative time in my life, but it was a very happy time in my life. Not that I'm not happy now, but you know what I mean? It's like, it was a time, I was in my 30s. I just moved to Stoke Newington, which I'd always wanted to do. Like, it was my lifetime's ambition to move to Stoke Newington. So I'd achieved it. And I thought, well, there's nothing left to do. And then I found Blush Bar and I thought, wow, I can do karaoke every Friday. I mean, I'm living my dream.
Okay, so let's just back up and unpick some of this life's ambitions moving to Stoke Newington. Yes. Why?
Well, I think I read something about it in Diva magazine, when I was sort of coming out in my late teens, early 20s. And I think I read somewhere that either Diva or on that their internet, if it was around, I can't remember, that Stoke Newington was like lesbian mecca. It was where all the lesbians lived, like every single one in the whole of London. So they were just all packed into this little space.
And every shop sold dungarees.
Yeah, all of that. Everybody was vegetarian, I was like, damn, I don't own any
Cats
dungarees.
Are plenty.
Yeah. Yes. So, I'd always just wanted to move to Stoke Newington. And then when I moved to London originally, I didn't live in Stoke Newington. I lived in Bethnal Green for 5 years. And then when my ex-girlfriend and I split up, and then I thought, where am I going to move to? And I thought, I know, I'll move to Stoke Newington.
Oh, Stoke Newington is just like such a special place in my heart. So I kind of have the opposite. When I moved to London, I had a friend who lived in Stoke Newington, so just kind of crashed on her couch and then ended up going to live with one of her friends who had a spare room in their place. And I had no idea that it was Lesbian Central until I started meeting new people, and they were like, oh, is that where all the lesbians live? And I was like, oh, I've made it. This is amazing.
Yeah, you see? And it was all true, actually. Well, kind of when I got there, because if you say it now, it sounds crazy because all the gay bars and queer bars are shut down, and there aren't very many anywhere anymore. But at Stoke Newington that time, there was 3 full-time lesbian bars. So I did think when I arrived there, this is the place to be.
You can bar hop at everything.
Yes.
If karaoke gets too much.
Which it never does.
And so when was this then?
So I moved to Stoke Newington now you asked me to go back and do maths. I moved to Stoke Newington in 2003. So yeah. And then I lived there until 2011. So I lived there for 8 years.
Okay.
Is that right? 8 years. Yeah. So before Blush, I should say, there was Due South. So Due South was run by Siobhan and Yolanda, and that was like the first lesbian bar I went to in Stoke Newington. So that holds a special place in my heart as well. And then when that shut down, Siobhan opened Blush and Yolanda opened the Y Bar, which was on Essex Road, just by Essex Road Station in Islington. So so Due South sadly shut, but its spirit lived on in Blush and the Y Bar.
So at this time in your life, when you just moved to Stoke Newington, you just finished a relationship. Was that kind of, was it traumatic?
Was it traumatic? It was, yeah. Well, it was one of those relationships where it was coming to an end, shall we say. So yes, in a way it was traumatic because it was 5-year relationship. However, it was kind of, at the end. So it was
the time.
It was good for me to make a break and move from Bethnal Green and then move to Stoke Newington. And it kind of felt like that was where I should have been when I was living in London anyway. So when I moved there, I was like, okay, this is the start of a new chapter, and this is the one that I'm, in control of on my own. So, yeah, it was a sad time, but also it was an exciting time as well, I think. And then,
Well, it's like that thing that people talk about London, like it takes a few years to figure out London, doesn't it? Like you could be here for a number of years and suddenly you move house to a different part of the city and you're like, oh, wow, everything makes sense. Like I get why people love London now suddenly.
yeah, I mean, having said that, I mean, I had a good time in Bethnal Green. I really did like it, and I've got mates, good friends who live in Bethnal Green now, so I love going back there. And that's actually, I remember when I lived there, when I moved to London in 1998, and everyone said to me, "Well, Bethnal Green's up and coming," and it was up and coming for years. It's finally come a little bit, it's got some cool bars there now, but they weren't there when I lived there. But I did enjoy Bethnal. It had and I always loved living in London. Like I'm from Essex, and ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to live in London. So, but I think that always my heart wanted to be in Stoke Newington. So yeah, it was good when I finally got there.
Why did you always want to live in London?
I think I just always wanted to live. I like cities. I like the hustle and bustle of a city, and I think. I was always just fascinated with London, even as a kid. And I think as well that some little part of me, both my parents lived in London and they met in London. So even though neither of them were born in London, they both grew up here. So I had some affinity to it. I always used to come up and see family here. But I never wanted to live exactly where they lived. I wanted to live where I wanted to live. So, and I think it's nice for me, like my family is still in Essex, so it's not too far away, but it's far enough away. I always say
far enough away, say no more.
Yeah.
So then moving to Stoke Newington and having just left this relationship, was the plan to be like, I'm going to be as sociable as possible. I'm going to go out and meet all of the lesbians of the borough.
Yes, that was the plan.
And then, so Blush Bar, do you remember the first time you went there?
Do I remember the first time, as Pulp once said? Do you know what? I'm not sure I do, but I do remember. Maybe I do actually. I don't exactly remember the night, but I do remember sort of kind of walking up there, and it always seemed to have some intimidating lesbians hanging out the front of it, smoking. And if you didn't know, them, you might be intimidated by them. I remember being slightly intimidated a couple of times, but then then I got to know everyone in there, and then you'd walk up and everyone would say, "Hi, Claire," and I'd be like, "Hi." Hang
on. What makes them intimidating?
Just because they were outside and I wanted to go in, so it was just there's nothing particularly intimidating about them. It was just you'd be eyed up as you went in, so it was just like oh.
Oh, I get you. The threat of being perceived.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't think that ever leaves going into queer spaces.
No.
Like I think you want to put your best foot forward. You know what I mean? And but yeah, soon that went, and then after quite a few times going, then everyone knew who you were, and I think that was part of the draw of Blush as well. Was that I knew everybody who worked behind the bar, and we knew most of the people in there after going there numerous times. Didn't just go there on a Friday for karaoke, but that was a typical Friday night.
So you've just said we knew everyone in there.
All right, yeah.
Is that?
So when I moved to Stoke Newington, I started going out with we had this group of friends, and we used to meet every Thursday at Tonic for drinks and pool and stuff. Proper lesbian activities. And then I think about a year later, I started seeing someone who then became my wife. So that's lovely. So but I think the we probably refers to me and her, but also the group of friends that I had at that time. We were still my friends, but we've all sort of dispersed away from Stoke Newington now. But at that time, we went to Blush quite often.
So let's talk about then. So after you'd been there the first time, and after you'd started going there, and you kind of became one of the crew, there is something really nice about everyone knowing who you are. But then there's also something a bit annoying as well. Like you can't really embarrass yourself.
No, I think Blush was an embarrassment-free zone.
Because no one had any shame, or?
No, yeah, it was shameless. It came with the territory. I mean, it was very much it was quite a smallish crowd of people that went in there, but loved it and kept it afloat, I think. So, we would go in there for an after work drink, like during the week, or we would definitely go in there on a Friday for karaoke. Sometimes it would be a stop on a Saturday. We would go in there on like New Year. I loved it on New Year because it was just a low-key New Year. You didn't have to book. You always knew that, you'd get chatting with people. I think that's the other thing about it, was that it was very welcoming to people, I always thought anyway, who weren't locals. And then it was so small that you always got chatting to people.
See, that's it, like having a bar where you go and everyone knows you. I hate that. I love to just be really anonymous and like not know anyone.
I see. I mean, I do like that in a city, which is why I love cities. I know I love living in London for that reason. But I think when I go to a bar or when I go to a restaurant, it's really nice when people know you. We went to Prefix in Soho recently and hadn't been there since the lockdown, and I'm a regular there. But then they remembered me, so that's nice.
Oh, that's nice. But then, see, like, so I don't mind that if they're like, oh yeah, hi, and then they like demonstrate some kind of knowledge that they know you. But it's when they like want to talk to you, that's when it gets annoying.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a restaurant where like the owner or the like head maitre d' or whatever pulls up a chair and sits with you?
Yeah, that's a little bit.
It's horrible. It's just like,
painful.
why would you do that? Oh, and then like, they've got control over what goes in your food, so you can't do anything. You can't say like, can you just not talk to me? You just have to kind of like style it out and seem interested. It's horrible. Anyway, that's my issue, not your issue.
There was also the odd bit of argy-bargy, which comes with the territory. When there's
so define argy-bargy for me.
How do I put this? When a bit of alcohol's been consumed, and maybe somebody doesn't like the way you walk past them or looked at them, then they might get a bit aggro with you. So, but I never particularly got in. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I don't get into fights. I run from fights.
Unless pool's involved, right?
Yeah. No, I'm just like, put the sticks down and run. But there was the odd flare up in blush. But I've got some good friends who are very good at diffusing the situation, and my wife is also very good at diffusing. So I just take a step back. I was just thinking actually earlier that I did actually do the entry for blush on fancyapint.com. So I used to write little pub reviews for them. So I was looking at it to see if it was still going, but I don't think it is because my internet kept crashing. So, but I know that one night I went in there and Siobhan was really happy that she was on fancyapint.com because in that era, as she says, like it's like 2,000 years ago. At that time, Fancy a Pint was quite a big website and probably like the only website that listed pubs. So she says, we've had a really good review on Fancy a Pint. And I said, yeah, that was me. So then she gave me a free pint. So that was good.
Okay. Oh, so she wasn't like crestfallen. Like, oh, it's just you.
No, it was just basically a friend of mine knew the person that ran Fancy a Pint. And I went out with them for a drink. And I said to them, I could do a few bars around Stoke Newington if you like. And then they said, yeah, that'd be great. So I did. I probably did about 10 or 20 bars around Stoke Newington. So I put all the lesbian bars on there.
Of course. So I haven't been able to find the Fancy a Pint reviews, but I found Yelp. And there's one here from Catherine. Am I able to read it out to you and see if you agree with what she said?
Go on then. Yeah.
So she only gave Blush 3 stars. It's not fair.
Oh, Catherine, what are you thinking?
Its small ground floor bar betrays the extent of the sizable basement area, which includes a pool table and access to a fair-size, concrete but beer garden. It's not really the kind of place you'd go for a boogie. Who says boogie? But it's perfect for a drink with your friends or other half any day of the week, and it's especially worth a visit on Wednesday for their great pub quiz. So do you agree with Catherine?
Well, I wouldn't give it 3 stars, obviously. On my Fancy a Pint rating, I gave it 5. And I also said it's got the coldest beer in London, which it did, which is why I always blamed it for making me drink too much of said cold beer. But I know that Siobhan, who ran it, was fastidious with her cleaning of her pipes and her temperature of her beer. And it really was fantastic beer in there. She was great.
Yeah, it's weird that Catherine's given it 3 out of 5 when she's not said anything negative about it.
See, I don't think Catherine's been there on a Friday for karaoke. She's more a Wednesday quiz girl.
Well, yeah.
I'm not a quiz person, so I never went on a Wednesday.
Oh, okay. So Catherine, we just don't trust Catherine whatsoever.
Sorry, Catherine.
So Fiona has said, it's the sort of place you could be very comfortable, even if you're on your own. And wait for it. Friday is karaoke night, and depending on the crowd, can be great fun. All are welcomed and clapped for their effort. Oh, that's nice.
There you go. Fiona got it. In fact, a friend of ours used to literally live in a flat across the road from Blush, and she said she could time her Friday nights for when she heard me singing Teenage Dirtbag from the flat over the road.
So, and what do you think London has lost since losing Blush?
Oh, it's lost so much. It's funny, isn't it? Because when we left Stoke Newington in 2011, I was sad to leave, but it kind of like it was the end of a time of life. And I think Blush was a time of life. Having said that, I do think I would still go there quite often if I lived around the corner and it was still there. Because I still like going to the pub. And it was just nice to have a bar that was a lesbian bar, or welcomed everyone, so a queer bar, and that did karaoke in it, and it was just local, and everyone, and you don't like. I do have that now. We live in Greenwich now, and there are pubs around where the people working there know us, but it's not the same as that. So I would still go, but it was definitely a time of life where I was going to pubs more. And I've forgotten the question.
What? So what?
What would Blush?
No, why is it not the same in Greenwich?
No, I just mean it's not the same as going to a gay bar, I suppose. That's slightly different, and it's a slightly different vibe, isn't it, in a gay bar to a normal bar? She says in inverted commas.
We have to collectively come up with a word, because I'm not comfortable calling it a straight bar, because it's not a straight bar. But it's also not.
And normal is no good.
Yeah, normal. I don't like that word. Like a common. No, don't want to say common. Anyway,
yes,
non-sexuality.
That's your job.
I'm on a never-ending quest.
Non-specific.
Listeners, if you've got any suggestions, get in touch. But so what do you think it is then?
I think it's probably it's having a space where you're seen, isn't it? And having a space where everybody's it's just this slight indefinable thing, isn't it? That I guess it's just being seen and identified and being welcomed and just relaxing. Whereas you don't do that as much. I mean, we've got some lovely bars here in Greenwich, and I wouldn't say I'm tense anytime I'm in them. And I'm not on tenterhooks, but it's just that sort of indefinable, that sort of one sort of, I don't know, maybe not 1%, that extra 5% of safety, freedom.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? When you're a minority and you are trained to scan the room every time you enter a room to see if there's anyone who's going to have a problem with you. And it's just, using up that CPU, that part of your brain to be like, is there anyone here who has a problem with me? And then 5 minutes later, there's new people in here. Do they have a problem with me? Yeah, it's that, not having to do that. Yeah,
no, definitely that. But strangely, we do have 2 gay bars in Greenwich, so that's nice. But no lesbian bar. And no pool table in any of them. So, what is the point?
They don't even want
no
your
karaoke.
custom, do they? They just don't care about lesbians. So back to that question then, I suppose, in particular, lesbian bars are disappearing. So maybe this question is more about lesbian bars in general rather than specifically about Blush. But what does London lose when it loses them?
It loses its identity somewhat of the identity of the people who would identify. Wow, I'm using identify and identity in the sentence a lot. But I think, as we said, it's just losing a safe space. It's losing a destination for people to come together and just be themselves. And I think the bigger bars, the sort of the more well-known bars, I never was as comfortable in them, I suppose, for some reason. But I much preferred, probably because I'm an introvert, and I much preferred the more neighbourhood bars, which Blush was. And Stoke Newington, as we said, had a multitude of them, and so that was very lucky at that time to be there. But yeah, I think all the ones in central London, in town, I think we've lost most of them now. We lost the Candy Bar, which I never thought would go, but it did. And I think there's only Q Bar now. Is it Q Bar downstairs? Last time I was in there was a massive fight.
So you just left.
I think we've lost so much, and it's not just lesbian bars, is it? In central London, we've lost so many different gay bars. But I don't know if that's just times change and culture changes, and that could be just me being nostalgic. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's tough to know. I guess that's what we're trying to answer with this. I don't know why I said we. What I'm trying to answer in part with this podcast is are they still relevant? And it's hard to know.
Yeah, it is hard to know. And I suppose I think as you get older, you do go out to pubs less. I think I go to restaurants more now than pubs, or restaurants more than bars. But so I guess it's more pertinent to ask people who will be going out and meeting people now, and meeting people to get together with, meeting mates. Those interactions won't take place because those spaces aren't there. So, but there are different things that have popped up, aren't there? Apps and things to take their place. So is it just a different time? I don't know. I'm of the generation which says that meeting in person, there's no substitute for that. But maybe that is just me.
There's all these other factors as well. So I hate it, but let's talk about millennials and Gen Z and Gen X and whatever. But one of the identifying characteristics, if you will, of Gen Z is that they don't drink as much, and they're also not having as much sex, which I just find really weird, given that all those apps out there where you can get sex really easily. And so a traditional bar doesn't meet the needs of that clientele as much.
Yeah, that is another fact. I guess it was very much, sort of going out drinking and meeting people and snogging them on a dance floor was very much part of my living in London. So but I'm sad that that's not there anymore.
Yeah, and it's the only way that bars can be viable is by selling alcohol, because that's where they can make the most profit. So if those spaces exist but they're selling less alcohol, they're suddenly not washing their own face.
Yeah, this is true. We need queer bubble tea bars.
Ooh, is there a big markup on bubble tea?
Oh, there must be, right? £4 a pop. I'm like, £4?
Oh, I don't think I've had bubble tea in a very long time.
It's not for me.
Okay, well, I'll open a lesbian bubble tea bar.
If you could, that would be lovely.
I will need 10 pool tables.
10 pool tables, and can you serve me beer under the bar?
Okay, sure.
But bubbly beer.
So let's go into the cheesy part of the interview. If you could describe Blush Bar in 5 words, what would they be?
Oh, okay. All the words have fled my brain. You wouldn't think I'm a writer, would you?
I should really tell people in advance about this question.
Okay, I've got it. I'm going back to my Fancy a Pint review. Coldest beer in North London.
Oh, that's 5 words.
That is
I had
true.
to count it.
There you go.
And if you could go back in time and talk to yourself when you just split up from your partner and just moved to Stoke Newington and were just starting to explore this new world in front of you, what advice would you give yourself?
I think I would say, I think I did okay, actually. I was trying to think, would I say to myself, go out more, don't snog that woman? But I think I did okay. I'm using the word snog for it quite a lot, which is making me smile. It's not normal.
Is this the title of your next book?
Yes, it should be, right? Snog, marry, avoid, something like that.
Snogging on the dance floor.
Don't snog her.
Don't snog her. Oh,
yes, yeah. Brilliant. I think I would say, just carry on as you are and explore all those bars and women and buy that flat.
Giving yourself real estate advice.
Yes.
Brilliant. Do you have any memories of Blush Bar? Do you have any memories of fighting over a pool table that you might want to tell me about? Well, if you do, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with the user handle Lost Spaces Pod, or you can also go to my website, Lost Spaces Podcast, and leave a comment there. I would love to have a chat with you. To find out more about Clare, visit her website, clarelydon.co.uk, where you can even download some free stories. And mark your calendar as Clare's next novel, Big London Dreams, is out on the 28th of July. Lost Spaces is not only a podcast, but a concept record as well. I have been writing songs about queer venues and the people who used to live their lives there, and will be releasing songs over the coming year. You can hear the first single, which is called Well Grown Boys, and is playing underneath my talking right now on all good streaming platforms. If you liked this episode, I would really appreciate if you subscribed, left a review on Apple Podcasts, or just told people who you think might be interested in giving it a little listen to. I am Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.